With everything going on with the Dallas Cowboys, we had to reach out to our friend Clarence Hill back here on the Rich Eisen Show from all DLLS Cowboys. Good to see you, Clarence. How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm trying to figure out what's going on. What's going on, Clarence? What's going on?
Well, Jerry's finally all in. After not giving Mike McCarthy any help in his last season, he's finally all in. And here's a guy that wouldn't call Derrick Henry when Derrick Henry wanted to come to Dallas and play for the Cowboys. They didn't have the money or whatever else, the pie. It didn't fit right. But now they're finally all in, trying to put a winner on the field. They needed a receiver. They targeted a receiver in the draft. Well, actually, they needed a receiver for the last couple of years to play opposite CeeDee Lamb, but they tried to get Tedero McMillan in the draft. They tried to make trades before the draft. They couldn't get it done, but Jerry said he wasn't done trying to improve the position, and he did it with this trade with Pittsburgh for George Pickens after the draft.
Okay, so what you're saying is, what was this one of the trades that Jerry was teasing prior to the draft that was something substantive that he was working on? Was this it?
Yes. This is something that they had discussed prior to the draft. And then, obviously they had targeted Ted. And when that didn't, when Ted went to Carolina and they took Booker, and they didn't take another receiver in the draft, and they went back to work looking to add to their weaponry, give Dak another weapon. And, he talked about wanting to make the offense Dak friendly. And they needed to have a viable opposite weapon next to CeeDee Lamb, because it's been CeeDee Lamb with a bunch of maybes for the last couple of years. Ever since they let Amari Cooper walk, they really haven't had a viable number two receiver.
So listen, he couldn't be more talented, this kid. Obviously, Clarence. You've seen him play just like I have. I'm sure you've heard what's coming out of Pittsburgh just like I have as well. There's a reason why somebody this talented in his last year of his contract was flipped out of town by the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are trying to at least roll out some sort of highly skilled weaponry red carpet for Aaron Rodgers as he's going through whatever he needs to go through to say yes to them. There's a reason why George Pickens was available for what Dallas gave up for him. Is there any concern in Dallas about that at all?
I mean, you have to come in with your eyes wide open. There's no question about that. Everybody knows his history. I mean, it's very public. Everybody knows Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin has done a good job managing personalities, and then when he lets you go, they're a real problem. You can look at all the guys that have left and how they've acted out and done things, but understand this is the Cowboy team that invested in Dak Prescott. This is not a team that's trying to rebuild. They're trying to win now. You're paying Dak Prescott $60 million. You're paying CeeDee Lamb, $32 million. You need to try to win now. They're getting ready to give Micah Parsons the richest contract in sport, richest non-quarterback contract, When you're putting that kind of money invested in these teams, in these players, it's about winning now, and it's not about, they've got a history of shopping at the bargain basement of free agents and really not spending money on outside free agents. But it's time for them to take a chance. I talked earlier about them not going after but Derrick Henry last year. They do a good job in drafting, but they need to supplement what they do in the draft by bringing playmakers in other ways, via trade, via free agency. They have to try to win now. In an offseason, you got rid of Mike McCarthy. Remember, you go 7-10, you get rid of Mike McCarthy. And listen, we love Brian Schottenheimer, but it's not a sexy hire. What can you sell the fan base? Dak is back, but what can you sell the fan base? You have to sell hope to the fan base that you're trying to win. You got to do more than sell tours. You got to sell winning. It's time to quit selling tours and sell winning out there. And it shows you that they're trying to win.
Clarence Hill in his fourth decade covering the Dallas Cowboys, now with all DLLS Cowboys right here on the Rich Eisen Show. You mentioned the draft and how the Cowboys attempted to get Ted McMillan, and that didn't work. So they're sitting here at 12 with every other wide receiver available to them, but instead they went for, and I know this is one way to pigeonhole a guy who is definitely worthy of the 12th overall pick in the draft, another Tyler for the offensive line. And so was there no Matt Golden love? Was there no other love for any of the wide receivers worthy of maybe being the 12th overall pick in the draft?
Let's give the Cowboys credit for they have a history of drafting well, okay? And they had love for those guys, but Booker was rated higher on their board. You look at where they picked and all the picks they've made, they made quality picks. Most people gave them high marks for the players they pick and the value they got. You got Booker, you got Donovan Ezerako, just Javon Rebel, who a lot of people thought was a first-round talent coming off an ACL injury. You get him in the third round. I mean, or fourth round. I'm sorry, you get him in the third round. You got Jadon Blue. You look at those guys and where they were picked, and they got great value. And so they didn't force a receiver. They say one a receiver. Book was rated higher on their board than some of those other receivers like Matt Golden. I'm a Texas guy. I love Matt Golden. He runs a 4.29 or whatever else. But they also had this in their back pocket. I think they already knew that this was a possibility. So they didn't have to force a receiver when they were going to go and try to finish this trade up, finish those talks up with George Pickens.
Yeah, there were some real value edge rushers in the second round.
Right.
The Colts grabbed Tui Moloau from Ohio State. This kid Ezerako is really, really good, and I can't wait to see what he does look like in this Cowboys defense. And I imagine for Cowboys fans who are also Longhorns fans, the pick of Blue was I'm sure well received. Certainly, since we're wondering who's running the football with Rico Dowdle out the door, right? And so, is this kid going to have a real shot to be the main guy for the Dallas Cowboys?
I think he's more of a, again, I'm a Texas guy as well, but he's a speed back. He's a niche back. He's a guy that gives you the big play. Again, he's another 4-2 guy. You look at him in Texas and all the big plays he had in Texas, he's going to fit with they got Javonte Williams in free agency.
Yes.
And Miles Sanders in free agency. And here's a guy that can catch the ball in the backfield, do things on third down, do some receiver out the slot, things like that, but give juice to the offense. He's not necessarily a guy that's going to be your lead back, but you pair him with someone else. You pair him with Javonte Williams and some of those other guys. And I still think they should go after a try after Nick Chubb, even though, after not going to get Derrick Henry last year, I think they should try Nick Chubb. I don't think that's on their radar, but I would love to see a Nick Chubb and Jalen Blue combination. But he's a combo back that you're going to use in concert with some other bigger guys. But yeah, Blue is going to bring a big play to the offense for sure. I think he's like Tony Pollard. The Cowboys initially had Tony Pollard early before, and he was a change of pace type guy, give you the big play out of the backfield, sort of things like that. That's what you're going to get from Jalen Blue.
You take Nick Chubb, wouldn't you take Nick Chubb, TJ?
Absolutely.
I mean,
especially the year further recovered from his devastating knee injury. What's up, Clarence? How you doing?
Try it. Just try it. Why not?
Clarence, I'm very happy about this trade, but of course you have the naysayers online who want to make fun that we did nothing the previous offseason. Now we make a big move, and now it's like, oh, well, he's a malcontent. He's this, that, and the third. What would you say to those people?
You can't have a room full of choir boys, okay? This is the NFL. It's a violent game. I remember Micah Irvin walking to the locker room, and we know Micah Irvin's history with those championship Cowboys. Said it's too many nice guys, and we need some edgy players, okay?
Some dogs.
And you got, great character guys in Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb as a guy, but you need somebody with some dog in you too. You need some players that got that dog in them, and obviously you got to be able to control them. He has to learn to control his emotion. Immaturity has been more of his issue. He's not a bad guy off the field. He's not. You don't have to worry about him getting in trouble with the law and things like that. He just gets emotional on the field. But you need somebody with that dog in him to really help put you over the top. And this is again, we're talking about a big time playmaker. If he didn't have those immaturity issues, he would have won in the first round coming out of Georgia. If you look at his career at Georgia, he was definitely one of the top receivers in that draft, one of the top receivers in college football. Look what he's done at Pittsburgh with some bums at quarterback. Look at the production he's had at Pittsburgh with some outright bums at quarterback. And without due respect, but he hasn't had a top quarterback. Going back to Georgia, he hasn't had a top quarterback. Dak Prescott's been the best quarterback he's ever played for. Mm-hmm. He's excited to play with Dak Prescott. One thing of note, he's in the last year of his contract. He's not forcing the Cowboys. He wanted an extension in Pittsburgh, but he's not forcing the Cowboys or even looking to get an extension. He wants to prove that he's a big-time playmaker so he can get paid in the offseason. So you have that carrot, that motivating carrot of a contract and life-changing money out there for him. So that should help him be better in Dallas emotionally and off the field than maybe he was in Pittsburgh. Obviously being around Dak and some of those other guys that they have, but that carrot of the contract is what they're also betting on.
Well, I mean, two things. First, Clarence, not to tell you, what to say or how to say it, but you can't call somebody a bum not once but twice and then say with all due respect.
Yes, I know.
You know
I got that.
like,
I got that from Keyshawn Johnson.
You gotta lead with the all due respect.
I know.
If you're gonna call somebody a bum twice, you called them bums twice. You went in with one hand and you went in with the other hand.
Blame Keyshawn. I got that from Keyshawn because you're a Jets guy, right?
Yeah, Clarence.
Yeah, blame Keyshawn. He said, "Man, I played with some bums." He said, "I'm not Bugs Bunny. I can't throw it and catch it too." That's the Keyshawn line.
Okay.
When he came to Dallas, and so I got that from Keyshawn.
I thought it was a Giselle line.
Keyshawn line.
Giselle got it from Keyshawn.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. Without the all due respect either. So I guess I should give you at least that. You did say with all due respect, although belatedly. But the second thing is, of course they're not. They can't pay, I guess, they shouldn't be paying George Pickens, Clarence, when they have a line full of people that they still need to pay in their own spot that they continuously pay too late to save them any sort of money to pay somebody like George Pickens. Which leads.
You sound like Jerry. Is that Jerry?
No,
Jerry,
I'm just saying.
Is Jerry taking over your body?
No, but it does dovetail, though, into the I need to see things from people before I pay them. George Pickens just got there, so he can't say, here's a bag, Jerry, fill it up. I just got here, unless that's part of the reason why the Steelers would send him out. This is just my I guess, long-winded way of getting around to when are they paying Micah Parsons? When are they going to actually pay this guy?
Yeah, they got to call his agent first. They haven't talked to his. Jerry doesn't know his agent's name. He doesn't know David Mulugeta's agent, one of the best agents in football.
Right.
And keep in mind, Mulugeta is also George Pickens' agent. Right. So I think he knows his agent now, but they haven't really moved the needle on that. One thing to note, Rich, they may or may not pay him, but the carrot for Pickens is I can get paid somewhere else in free agency. And the carrot for the Cowboys is if he has a big year and he gets paid somewhere else, they could return a third-round comp pick back. So they basically swapped the third-round pick and could get a third-round pick back for Pickens if he blows up and does a great job and signs big money elsewhere. So, yeah, most likely they got other guys they need to pay like Tyler Smith and certainly Deron Bland and Micah Parsons and all the other stuff. But remember, the Bengals just paid 2 receivers.
Yeah, I understand that, Clarence, but I'm just saying when you've got your own guys who have balled out to say, I want to stay here in Dallas. I have shown you what needs to be shown to have the privilege of having the star on the side of the helmet and play in the Jones Mahal. You can't just pay somebody who just got there. You've got to pay the other guys first. And that's why we had DeMarcus Ware on a couple years ago talking about how Jerry cut his agent out of the process when he was trying to sign him, and he knew it was serious when he busted out the votive candles in his office. He goes, when Jerry calls you in his office and busts out the votive candles and lights the votive candles, like he means business and he wants to sign you without you talking to your agent. So I don't know if he's busting out the votive candles with Micah Parsons or Clarence. Let me ask you this. Is there any credence to the fact that they think he podcasts too much? I mean, Tank Lawrence made explicit reference to that in clapping back at Micah Parsons when he went to Seattle earlier in the spring. Is there any smoke to this potential fire?
Not from Jerry Jones. And I broke the story earlier. Jerry Jones already has a handshake deal with Micah Parsons for the richest contract in richest non-quarterback contract in NFL history. They've already got a handshake deal. They haven't got the deal done because Jerry and Steven have yet to include the agent, and Micah's not signing a deal without his agent signing off on it. Yeah. But Jerry's already committed. He said, we've had a meeting on the minds on everything regarding the contract, money, guarantee, bonus, everything. So there's no hesitancy with Jerry Jones. Now he's going to say the right things because it hasn't done, and I need to see more. But he already has verbally committed a handshake deal with Micah Parsons on the richest non-quarterback contract. So that podcast talk is more of a media thing and maybe a player thing. All it's right. Not a Jerry thing per se. He's going to say, well, I want to see more leadership. If I pay him that kind of money, he has to be a leader. This is what's also true. I'd rather have 11 Micah Parsons, 11 all-pro players. And I think Jerry would rather have 11 all-pro players to do a podcast. Micah Parsons is the only player on defense in the front 7 that's a Pro Bowl player. You want to know why you can't get over the hump? You don't have enough talent up front. They can't stop throwing. They need more difference-making players, and Jerry is not using that podcast to not pay Micah Parsons.
All right. Well, that's good. Well, handshake or not, but one way for somebody to go basically like that instead of continuing to shake hands is if, let's just say, TJ Watt signs first. You know what I mean? Like, so what's the wait? Why if there's a handshake?
They have not talked to the agent.
Learn the agent's name, get his number, and close it. Like, what are we waiting for?
I have no idea, but they got a deal in place theoretically with Jerry and Micah. They just got to include the agent, and I think it's going to happen. They want to get it done. Both sides want to get it done, but they're hard headed. Hey, you know what? One agent that they didn't cut out the process, Dak Prescott's agent.
They have Todd France's number.
Cut them out the process.
Yeah, they got Todd's number.
Yes. Most definitely.
And they got the number they wanted from Jerry. Which nobody's come close to touching, right? Like we've gotten halfway, in the 50s to 60, but nobody's hitting 58, 59. I don't think Brock Purdy's going to do that. I don't know when Jaden Daniels hits, but there's going to be other quarterbacks before him. Stroud, I don't know. I don't know who's going to hit 60. Jerry might have set that standard, and nobody's coming close to it. Clarence.
Hey, kudos to Todd France, because he set this up with the first contract when he put the no tag clause in it. They set with the first contract, it was a 4-year deal. It wasn't a long deal. When he initially got 40, and he made as much as Josh Allen and more than Patrick Mahomes his first contract. But they set the table for the second contract with the no tag, and if the Cowboys didn't re-sign him, somebody was going to pay Dak. It was going to be Pittsburgh. Look at all the teams that needed quarterbacks. Cleveland, Pittsburgh. This offseason when he would have been a free agent, he was going to get that money somewhere. And Jerry Jones, we've been on that quarterback abyss. We remember between Troy Aikman and Tony Romo. Jerry was not going to go on that quarterback abyss again. He's not trying to rebuild. He's not trying to go 1-15 and tank for Arch and do all this other stuff, because he wants to keep that stadium full. And they've been very competitive. When Dak has been healthy, they've been competing for playoffs. They just need more players around them.
All right, Clarence.
Getting Arch might not be that bad of a thing, though.
No. Quit with the Arch stuff, man. He's not coming out yet. But I'm. Hey, listen, for Cowboys fans, for you, TJ, I'm glad. Pickens is a splash. There's a sign. There's a sign. A proof of life. That there's still some splash in that front office, and certainly in that town where I think people are still. Pissed, whatever, about Luka being sent out. At least you're going to keep Micah and see what's going on, Clarence. Thanks for the time. Really appreciate it. And all DLLS.com and Chill, right? I know it's C Hill, but it's Chill NFL at Chill NFL.
Yeah.
Okay.
On IG is Chill NFL, and on Twitter or X is Clarence Hill Jr. all together. Follow me.
Holler at him at some point. Thanks again, Clarence. Really appreciate the time. That's Clarence Hill right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Catch The Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.